We want to welcome to the show CTV's political commentator Scott Reid joins us live now via Skype this morning. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Chanel. Hey, Jen.
Hi, good morning. Let's start with asking you about your reaction to that really fiery exchange with the lawyer and Chrystia Freeland.
Well, it highlights an interesting thread of this entire week when we see ministers testifying. And the Convoy lawyer should be in a position where he is finally getting his mitts on these ministers. Today, he'll get his mitts on the prime minister. But almost every single day, as we saw in this exchange, he gets in his own way. He becomes combative. He raises weird theories. He talks about Nazi flags. He runs down people in the hallway and says, "Are you somebody you're not?" And so he looks more like a rodeo clown than a wise lawyer. And that's actually helped the government because he's making news instead of them being on the grill.
Yeah, he's kind of become a distraction. Okay, Scott, I want to get your take on, the testimony we've seen so far. It's been 6 weeks. We know this isn't a trial, but it's certainly an exercise in transparency. Let's talk about the ministers who have testified this week, including Chrystia Freeland yesterday. Who do you think sold it?
Well, I think all the ministers have actually acquitted themselves reasonably well, in part because what we just talked about, and they haven't had to face perhaps as tough a time as they might have expected. The Convoy lawyers jammed his way into the news each and every day. That takes some pressure off of them. But I think they've also been well prepared. They've been composed. And each of them, if you take a look at it, if you look carefully over the course of the week, each of them has spoken to a different type of threat. Marco Mendicino, as you would expect, talked about the security threat. He talked about guns at the borders, those sorts of things. The justice minister, interestingly enough, talked about the fact that he lived in the downtown core, talked about the personal threat that he felt like many people living in that area. And then, of course, you heard Freeland yesterday talk about the economic threat. What are they trying to do? Each in their own way and accumulatively are trying to make the argument that there was a multifaceted threat and that in extension justifies the invocation of the Emergencies Act and demonstrates that you had something that was approaching an emergency. I thought they've done a smart, creative job of arguing the threat, and what they've really been smart about is avoiding this technical legalistic definition, which the commission's obligated to look into, but which passes by all common sense tests, which is, well, after 3.5 weeks, doesn't somebody need to do something around here? And they've stuck to that territory, which puts them with the majority of public opinion.
Okay, and we're going to hear from the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, today, appearing voluntarily to testify. What will you be watching and listening for? Do you expect any big bombshells?
If we expect a bombshell, if we were to see a bombshell, it would likely be because there's been a mistake. So if there's a bombshell, you don't like that if you're the prime minister. You're looking for a non-bombshell day. You're looking for a quiet day, a straightforward day, a day that forces people like you to work hard to find what the exact news and news clip is. So I'd say a couple of things. First, let's remember, this is the Haley's Comet of politics. This is only the third time in history that a prime minister has had to testify at a judicial inquiry under oath. Sir John A. Macdonald, my old boss Paul Martin, and now Justin Trudeau. So this is an atypical circumstance, requires atypical preparation. 3 things I'd look for. 1, you got to be prepared. You might be on that stand for hours. This isn't like a leaders' debate. This isn't like the House of Commons. This is a different thing. It's going to test different muscles. So make sure that you prepared yourself. You know where the tough questions are. You know where your points of strength are. Second, be deliberate. If I'm the prime minister, I want to have a clip. I want to know where I want to make news. I want to make certain I say something colorfully and I say everything else draped in shadows and gray so that I drive the news myself, because you're going to make news, you're the prime minister. And the third thing, it speaks to what we talked about at the outset. Be on guard. That Convoy lawyer is going to be the dramatic moment. We know it. He's going to get to do the examination of the prime minister. This is the moment he's been waiting for. This is the made-for-TV segment. So make certain you're on guard. Just because he's been a buffoon all week, do not make the mistake of taking it for granted. Don't assume that he will be buffoonish. Don't assume he'll be easy to manage. Make sure you're guarded during that exchange, because that is the most dangerous moment here.
Okay, we'll be paying attention to see if Trudeau heeds all this advice that you've been giving us. CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid, thank you so much. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too.